Hello everyone, how you doing? In this video, I'm going to show you how to convert this simple table with basic conditional formatting to something more advanced. Okay, so we're going to use SVGs in Power BI to create this conditional formatting. Okay, so the first thing I need to show us is the data we are using. So I'll go to the table view, and for this data, we just have a sales data. Okay, so this is just an extract from a sales data where we have the product column, the quantity, unit price, and of course the total cost. So I'll come back to the report view so we can create this table. So I'll just let me click here. I'm going to create a new table. I'll bring this table side by side with this one so you can see the changes that we're going to make. So I'm going to bring in the columns that we need. We need the product, we also need the quantity, we need the total cost as well. So we have to format this table. So first off, to format this table, I'm just going to increase the values to the font size of 18, and okay, I'll do same thing for the headers. So font size of 18 for headers, and I'm going to just make it bold. Once I do that, I'll just increase the size of the table. Then for the totals, I want to turn off the values of the totals. Then for this border that has a blue line here, I'll first of all select style presets. Okay, so there are so many style presets you can use for tables in your report. So I'm going to choose minimal. So this is what minimal shows. I love to use this one. And so for the grid, if I select the grid, I can decide to turn off the horizontal grid line, but I just want it to stay in my own report. So once you expand this grid, that is where you're going to find this border. And for this border, you cannot just change the width to 0, so the border must have to be there. So what I'll do is I'll just change it to a color. Let's say the same color I want to use for background color for column headers. So I'll come here and I might just decide to give this background color. You know, if I give that background color, I'll change the text color to white. So we've changed the text color to white. Another thing I'll need to do is just to rename these two columns. So I'll come directly here and double click on this. Once I double click, I'm going to rename this columns. So I'm going to rename it to quantity. Then for the other one, I'm going to rename it to total cost. So I'm just going to rename this, and here we have the quantity and of course the total cost. So let's get into formatting this. So for us to do this, we're going to create a measure. So I'm going to click on the sales table and select the new measure that we want to create. So this measure, we're going to use variables because we're going to create about 2 or 3 variables. So I want to create every single thing in one particular measure. So I'll call this order category. So I'll call this other category, and I'll include an equal to sign. So the first variable we want to create, I'm going to type the var keyword. And so the first variable we want to create is the quantity. Okay, so for the quantity, we want to take the sum of quantity. That's what we want to do. And then I'll close this bracket and then press shift and enter to go to the next line. So if I type another variable keyword, which is var, I'm going to create this variable which is order. That's for the order category. So I'll just add an underscore here because order is a reserved word in Power BI. So include an equal to sign. So with this, we're going to use a switch statement. So I'm going to use the switch statement. The first argument here, which is an expression, I'll type true and include a comma. So I'll press shift and enter, go to the next line. So the logic we want is that if our quantity is less than and equal to 25, so we want to also include a unique character. So if it's less than and equal to 25, we want this unique character with the code 9660, and I'm going to concatenate it using this ampersand with the text we want to return. So I'll type small and I'll include a comma sign, press shift and enter, go to the next line. So the next next logic is if quantity is less than and equal to 50, we want to use this other unique. So for the last one now, for this switch statement, I'll press shift and enter and then type another unique character. This time we're going to type 9650 and we also combine it with a text which is large. So basically what this code is doing is that it's just telling us if quantity is less than or equal to 25, it should show us it should be a small order. Less than or equal to 50, it should be a normal order. If it is not within this range, then that means it is a large order. Okay, so I'm going to press shift and enter, then include this parenthesis to close the switch function. So I'll go to the next line. So on this next line, we need to create another variable. So this time around, the variable we want to create is a fill color. So we're just going to create a color variable. We're still going to use the switch statement, and for this switch statement, for the expression, we want to return the other variable that we created. So I'm going to select that and include that comma sign. I'll press shift and enter and then start typing. So basically, since we want to use a fill color, I'm just going to copy what we created here so we don't have to start typing every single thing over and over again. So I'm just going to copy this and bring it to this point. So I'll paste it here. And of course, the color for this particular fill, we're going to use the color codes to actually type this. So I'm going to type FF D9D9. So that is the color code we want to use. I'll include a comma sign, then I'll press shift and enter. I'll keep on pasting that code I copied from the first one. The only thing we need to do is to edit it. So I'll edit this to 9654, and of course I'm going to change this to normal order. So I'm going to type normal. So the color code we want for normal is the second color. So this second color is another color code that we're trying to use. So I'm going to type this. Then the last one, I'll press shift and enter. Then the last color code is going to be this particular color. The last variable we are going to create is the text color variable. So I'll press shift and enter. I'll go to the next line. So under here, I'm going to type a var keyword and then include text color. So for this text color, our text color, we're going to still use the switch statement. So basically what I can do, I'll quickly copy this because we are only changing the colors for the text. So I'll quickly copy that and paste over here. It's basically the same logic we're going to use, but with different colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this color code here. So I'm going to type this color code, which is D953 and of course 4F. So that's the color code we want to use. Then for this second one, we want to change it to another color code, which is 0070C0. Okay, so and the last one we need to change now is this particular one. So we are changing it to 288745. Okay, so basically we have our variables for fill color and of course for text color. So I'm going to press shift and enter, and I'm going to type the return keyword. So on this return keyword, this is where we're going to include the SVG code that will return the exact shape of that rounded rectangle that we have. So it's going to be a lot of typing, so I'm just going to skip this part and explain later. So this is the SVG code. So we have to include this first line. If not, it's not going to render as an image because you know SVG is scalable vector graphics. And of course, we're trying to draw a rectangle. So this is the rectangle code. We have the width, we have the fill. And for the fill colors that we have here, so this fill color here is the fill color. Right now it's been highlighted. So this is the variable that we created. So we use the variable to return that fill color, and of course the text color that we have here is also the variable that we created. Then for the text that we have in this SVG, which is the order, this order is the variable order that we created, where of course we will have small, normal or large orders. Okay, so the under this rectangle, this Rx is what holds the corner radius. Sometimes you can include Ry and any other thing. So you can actually copy this code and see how you can replicate it in your reports to create an SVG like this. So once we're done with this, I'm going to press enter and then I'm going to collapse it. So we're going to just add it to this table. So I'll select the table and bring in the other category. So this other category is showing as the SVG code that we wrote because we've not set the data category as image. So I'm going to select it, go to data category, then scroll down to where I have image URL and then select as an image. Once I select as an image, we see that it has rendered as an image, but it's still not looking very okay because we need to do some fixes. So normally you would want to adjust from the column width like this, thinking that it's going to work, but that is not going to work. So what will work here is that we have to scroll down, scroll to where you have image section on your format pen. So I'm going to scroll to where I have image size. Then under this image size, we're going to work with the height and of course the width. So let's say I can decide to change the width to, let's say, 150, and this is what we have as the width, which is 150. So for the height, we can also decide to change it. So these things you can actually change it based on how you want the shape to display in your report. So you already see that we have a new order category which we've done with like an advanced conditional formatting, and it's slightly different from this, and so you can actually use things like this in your reports. But also note that SVGs are like custom visuals because you have to create it. So sometimes when you want to use those kind of external or custom visuals, make sure you use it very little in your report because it can really get complex quickly. Okay, so you can always maybe set it, specify, go to specific column. For the other category, you can set it to the middle and everything will just align nicely and of course properly, just the way you want it to be. So this is how you can use simple SVGs in your report, and of course you can always use it to create other shapes as well. Let me know if you've used SVGs in Power BI and of course what you think about it. Thank you.